One. And we're live. It is the Martin Fowler Scrum. It is Sam and Michael. Yeah, updates from me. Yeah, oh, and Paul. What have I done? Well, last night I did manage to get the now sponsor other users by PayPal live in the system. Hey, Pat. And so sponsor other users by PayPal is in principle working, although no one's done it yet. So you never know until the last minute. I've alerted the person who is planning to use it, and yep, they're like, okay, so they need to get their co-workers to actually sign up to Agile Ventures so they can then do it. So hopefully we'll have a live test within the next few days. Makes me think about should we have it so that you immediately start thinking of other features that would take ages to implement. Well, or being able to sponsor somebody who wasn't yet a member. And anyway, put that aside. I had a meeting with Armando and other Berkeley folks. They've got a list of things that we need to fix in the course for accessibility issues, but are not too onerous, and they've got a group of students to help us out with it. So the new dates for the next round of self-paced run of the MOOC is end of January and end of February next year. So that's going ahead. So that's sounding good. I managed to get out the Agile Ventures Christmas cards to those who requested them. And then this morning I've just been working on the back end of this new setup for generic plans, particularly to support these new non-profit targeted plans with Michael. And I think I've made good progress, although I might still have a few errors. We will see. Maybe Michael and I can look about at the end of the Scrum. Michael, any updates from you?
No, I just had pushed what I did yesterday on that.
Yes.
After talking with you, and you resumed on it this morning, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of feel a bit worse for wear this morning, and I was just like, well, what should I do? And I did the various paperwork anyway. Kind of sort of started kicking at that for want of a better thing to do. Paul, I think you're in next. How are you doing? I think you're muted at the moment, so we can't hear you.
Yeah, how's that?
Yeah, much better. Yeah, and very good and clear. Yes, how are things going with you, Paul?
Okay. Well, I pushed the remainder of my changes up. Patrick was going to take a look at them because of difficulties that I had in running the cucumber features. So I'm just checking in with him to see what sort of feedback he's got for me. I'm also thinking now I probably do need to stand up Ubuntu rather than try and work on Windows, because it's just too difficult.
Is C9 an option for you?
C9 is generally good, but it has its limitations, I think.
Yeah. Indeed. Yes.
So Paul, I did pull your feature, and I did run the tests locally on my machine, and they all passed. Okay, I think there's still a couple of changes we should talk about. Maybe we can connect up after this.
Yeah, sure.
But other than that, I think you run into a Cloud 9 limitation in terms of testing, it sounds like.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Paul. Pat, how are things with you?
Good, thank you. So let's see, my activities since yesterday was I did a pair programming with Hinesh on a Met+ story, an RSpec embellishment that he was adding. I did review Paul's PR, as I just mentioned. We did have a client meeting on the Met+ project at midday yesterday. So we demoed progress, went over where we're at. We reviewed the UI designs that Laurie put together, so he liked them. So we're moving forward with that. When she gets back, we'll create some stories and start to implement that, and also push further into the app in terms of redesign. We also talked a little bit about production and the cost thereof, and he asked for us a detailed breakdown in an email as to what it would take, what we require. And so we begged off on that because we still have to, as you know, Sam, figure out exactly what we need. And we need to run, I think, a month or two on our free services and get a better idea of what we're looking at in terms of production volumes. So anyway, he did not say that he has no budget.
Right.
He didn't give us an upper figure.
No.
So he wants to see what we're talking about first, which makes sense to me.
Sure.
Yep. And then on the SHF project, I did some PR reviews and I delivered 2 small stories. And I think that's it for me. No blockers at this point.
Great. Thanks for the update, Pat. And Matt is here as well. Hey, Matt, how are you doing?
Hi, good. You want my update?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Let's see. I didn't do anything yesterday except watch movies. And today I'm back, and I started looking at the Twitter refactoring, Twitter refactoring, and I got two different ways I want to go about it. So maybe if there's somebody wants to do a hangout, or maybe I get opinions. I'm either thinking making a videoable concern or video service. Encapsulate anything that's videoable, because it seems like another class of things. You know, I know it's an event now that's videoable, but I suppose there could. It seems better to encapsulate it into something. Just going to work on that today, and Alex was busy on the Redeemify API yesterday, waiting for some comments from me. So I got two. So those are my two things today.
Cool. Thanks. All right. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, we can coordinate. So yeah, well, I think that's our Scrum. I've said to Corey, who's a previous member, who's occasionally involved in Website 1, to pair with him in about just under an hour. So I'd probably maybe hang out in this hangout afterwards, and to coordinate on Website 1 for Matt and Michael. It sounds like Pat and Paul, you want to sort out for Met Plus, so maybe Pat, you'll make a fresh Met Plus hangout.
I will, right after this.
All right, good stuff. Anything else that
that works for?
Go for Paul.
I'm sorry, just wanted to confirm that works for Paul. If we go right into another session.
Yes, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yep.
Okay. I don't know if anybody else has got any other important announcements or things. I've got some things to share. I'm going to be speaking at the DevOps conference, online conference in January. Look forward to that. Talk all about how we do DevOps on a budget at Agile Ventures. Two other things I've kind of thought. I think yes, let's do an Agile book club. This was a suggestion, and let's do it as a podcast. So if anybody's interested in being involved with creating an Agile, doing a book club. So basically, we have a book that's on Agile, how to write better user stories or what have you. And we read a chapter a week, and we get together to discuss it, and I turn it into a podcast that we publish. If anybody's interested in doing that, then let me know. And then my other, all these ideas are being discussed in the AV Community Talk channel. And the other idea is, I feel like we should have an Agile Ventures conference. We should have, a conference where we basically, anybody from Agile Ventures can give a talk on whatever they like, and sort of set that on a day and sort of create a thing. So I've created two separate channels for Agile Book Club and online conference, and if you're interested in either of those things, then jump in there and we can chat about it. I think Pat, you're speaking, but you're muted.
No, just acknowledging what you said. That's all right. All good stuff, and yeah, thanks for that.
Good stuff. All right. Yeah. Well, cool. Then, Matt and Michael and we can carry on here, and Pat and Paul, good luck in your next hangout.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Bye now.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye for now. So, yeah. Where I am, Michael, is I've got this thing. I've got a selection of other what I think are probably relatively straightforward fixes for this thing that we're working on. I guess, yeah, maybe we will just work on this, and if it turns out to be longer, then we'll put it to one side. I don't know, Matt, if I'll just maybe show you what we're working on now, and we can, before, within the next half an hour, we'll get on to reviewing some of the other bits and pieces. But so, yeah, I've basically, the main changes that I made, Michael, this is, well, I'll back up because Matt's here, is where we are is, Let's find. Well, we've decided to create a plan class, or active record entity. And the evil thing that I just did was I added an amount value into it here. So this can represent all the different kinds of plans, and you sort of dynamically create the appropriate sign up page for them. And so I'm working against the features, premium features. Yeah, so we've got this, like, so to get this was the one that was failing, or the one we were driving from, Michael, that was failing, about signing up for this new kind of non-profit basic support. And I just, I know that the language isn't precise. I just, in order to get the pass, I just updated the language here. And so this was working, but it's, now just failing because I think that in the test, it's trying to pay the wrong amount of money. So I've now got that the plan kind of specifies that it is, this particular one is $20 a month, or £20 a month. And the problem is here. So I thought it says, all right, the non-profit basic should in fact be 20 there, because it's now being updated correctly. And so that should fix this one. And the main changes that I made in the subscription controller was just so that we have a default, so that if no particular plan is coming in, then it just defaults that to premium. And that fixes a lot of problems that the other tests were having. Otherwise, this is pretty much all the same. In principle now,
So
go on.
you didn't deal with the other issue of the database, right? Like, if you go back to the create.
Mm-hmm.
So we're, what are we doing? Are we actually, can you go up? I guess create, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go down to create, sorry. Tech user. Is that all going to do the right thing, I guess?
More or less. I think this one is now working. I mean, the things now that I have, we've got an issue here. Yeah, pretty much all of the plan signups are all working. Having run the big set of things, I've got like a series of errors here related to the card sections. The other thing that I updated.
Well, I think we don't have PayPal in this.
Well, I adjusted the thing so that we were using I adjusted the template. So do I have it up here? This is the local elements here. So we do have PayPal. So we have these.
And it's not finding it.
No, well, it has found it for. It's found it for. If we go and look at the features, so the subscribe self and to premium, which has 2 PayPal things, these are both working now. And let's have a look. I think it maybe. Anyway, let's have a look. If we have a look at the specific failure for, let's just take one of these sponsoring ones and see the specific failure. I think it may be like what we've got is things were spread out over lots of different templates, and then we've sort of consolidated, so the language has changed slightly. So if we're, okay, and so right, I think part of the problem here is the amount for the plan is not set. And so if we go over here, this is sponsor other member. Yeah, so this needs to have it now has to have like an amount, like so. I don't know if that will necessarily completely fix it. And if I method /4nil class, and that's on line 42 of the new template. We're going to app views. subscriptions, new, I'm 42. Well, it actually was, yeah, because the so this is so what I've done here is in order to make these say the right things. So this is the Stripe thing, and we put the plan amount in there, and then the oh god, what's it called? PayPal. Rather than having pennies, it needs to have the number of it has to have it like in floating, like .00 after it. So that's then working there. So I wonder, actually, if I just run the set of those. Let's run that. That might be sufficient. We've got the only other problem was there with the was upgrade membership. That may also, it may conceivably just need the same thing. Upgrade membership, yeah. So plus there, and that's let's see. So that's looking. So there's, I mean, I think you've rightly identified, Michael. There's issues with the, deploying this is that we have to make sure that the right values are in the database for the plans when it goes live. I think there's also other big sets of refactorings that could be done related to our other domain, like the I was just saying in the chat, the what's it called?
Well, for that, I would say I would counsel that we should maybe separate out the migrations, like I was saying.
Yeah, I guess like do the migration
and put them in first, then add the data manually.
Right.
And then, yeah, do all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then maybe put the code in.
So, but the testing, that I think that's all the test screen. So I'm just going to push that into the branch.
So in terms of the database, so when someone signs up for nonprofit basic support, say, or one of these new custom plans,
right?
How does it work? Does it actually set that plan on the user? I mean, how is our plan model working? It's not.
Well, yeah, that's the area where
that's where you're saying you need work.
Potentially, because I mean, what it will try to do, I mean, at the moment we've still got it like kind of inferring the single table inheritance class as a type of subscription for the way that it, creates the user on the back end, and so that's, yeah, these tests may all be passing, and it may disguise some issues that are not, which themselves are not adequately tested. So I'm just going to do here. But so anyway, that's sort of a rough stab at it, and it needs more work and review. But maybe we can pause there and have a look at the board and bring Matt in on this. Were you watching? Was it films of your own choosing or your family? Was it films for the family yesterday?
Just my own. I had trouble getting to the couch. So.
It's good to. I enjoy. I just watched. Was it Live, Die, Repeat: The Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt on Sunday evening, which I quite enjoyed actually.
Oh, I wonder if that has a different name here. I've never heard of it.
It used to have two names. And one of them is Live, Die, Repeat, and the other one is Edge of Tomorrow. But maybe it has a third name.
Edge of Tomorrow. Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I saw that. That was good.
Yeah.
I watched a bad movie called Vice.
What is it about? Just
it's like sort of a time jumping thing. I'm not such a big fan of Tom Cruise, but he does find it's better than War of the Worlds actually, which I saw for the first time the other day. At least mildly diverting. So looking at the board, we've reviewed. I think this is pretty much good to go, Matt. The sort project page by commit date.
Yeah, I think I made that one more change. I think I did what you wanted, but I'm not.
Yeah, no, I think it's the only reason I haven't merged it in is just because I was trying to get this other sponsorship thing out, and I just sort of didn't want to be doing multiple things at the same time. So I think that's ready to that's ready to go. You were saying that you were looking at the Twitter thing.
Starting at night. I think I do want to make a videoable concern.
Okay.
To add to the event. You know.
Right. Okay.
Make it.
I mean, just to back up, what we had. What I mean, the concern is, or sorry, I shouldn't use that word. I mean, the issue is that sometimes we're posting links inappropriately when links to videos when they're not actually live. And what we got working, we sort of stepped back and we realized that there was no acceptance test for this functionality. So I don't know if this is the one we worked on. Maybe it was. This is you two were working on this together, weren't you?
Yes.
It ended up being this, and so this is what currently happens. And there's the key thing that I thought that I ended up when I was doing this with Sasha is we'd identified here, like, I guess those two things they weren't separated because it just does both of them at once. And then so the key thing to be driving from was then, like, this commented out scenario was adjusting the behavior. We now want to sort of drive what the new behavior should be by saying that we don't ping the YouTube thing until it's gone live. Go on.
So in principle, right, when the Hangout app first loads, I'm not sure whether Matthew's completely aware of the dynamics of it, but when the Hangout app loads in the browser, it pings website 1 through the event instance controller, and that ping right now sets off a tweet, right? That tweets the YouTube link that's provided in that ping. So the issue is that ping is not, that the link is before the video goes live, correct, Sam?
Well, and that
link is gone.
It may or may not have gone live. Basically, that the Hangout plugin calls back to our site and says, the Hangout's gone live, and here's the YouTube link. And at the moment, that YouTube link is immediately sent to Twitter without any particular check that it's been live or otherwise.
So did you and Sasha identify an actual mechanism to determine whether a YouTube link is live?
We did, using this YT gem.
So there's a YT gem that would enable you to check. So then, because we're a web app, obviously, so there's basically two options, right? You either offload it to a queue, like a worker queue, that would check whether the YouTube is live, which doesn't seem like an optimal solution. Or you use the fact that we ping the Hangout every 2 minutes.
Yeah.
To trigger the tweet.
Yeah. And I think that the latter, I mean, and that's, Sasha had spiked a solution to that with my help here of basically, adjusting it so that the YouTube link was not tweeted unless we checked that the actual, using the YT gem, that the video actually had some non-zero duration.
Yeah, and there's nothing asynchronous about this. It just, right when the tweets, it also checks that there's a video and that it's at least 2 seconds.
Right.
So apparently he tested that and it worked. So I don't.
Yeah, well, indeed. So it's all. So yeah, I mean, the only reason that it didn't move further is he got a job and is off doing other things. He and I, like, working together with a live Hangout, validated that this does what we think it does. And so the concerns that I had with this pull request were, one, that we didn't have any high level description of why we were doing any of this, no driving, but no acceptance test. And then also the way that Sasha kind of constructed this into the event instance seemed a little bit more complicated than was necessary. So as I remember, we sort of backed up. We got an acceptance test covering the existing behavior in there, and so yeah, the next step to me would be to like try and drive the modification of the behavior from the acceptance test level, yeah. So whether or not that means creating concern or what it involves, I think that's kind of up to whoever chooses to implement it.
I guess I should have started with the story. Yeah.
But I think that's the critical thing, because in order to assess whether the particular technique that one is using is effective or not, we need to be assessing it in terms of, does it deliver the functionality that we're looking for. So yeah, I mean, we've got this. I guess there are on this one. So we talked about this before. Did I create refactoring tickets for this? About that there was this thing that Michael, that you had in here about how we're kind of at the moment in order to check this, we're kind of locking to some of the underlying implementation, in that we are checking that under the hood, so to speak, that the Twitter service does actually hit the thing and send the tweets, and then we're kind of like doing and call original, and we have VCR as well, because if we don't have that, then VCR will kind of sandbox it, but it won't alert us if
if the cache is not hit,
to certain kind of errors. Like if it tries to hit a completely different URL, then it will complain. But if
it doesn't hit a URL,
but if it hits that URL, but the parameters are kind of different, or I mean, it should have various degrees of complaining. It sort of depends how we've set it up. So I think maybe I created a couple of refactoring tickets for that. Did I? After we pulled that in. Was mentioned VCR in there? Not in that one. I remember writing a blog about it. Okay. That was the exceeding 140 characters there. What to do with plan class? So I mean, there's a question of, one could stick with the existing Cucumber and just try and add the other thing on, or because I specifically remember the thing that I mentioned is that one could conceivably be using a spy instead, and then there's a question about whether that would work or not. Did I? I've written a blog about it. Whether I didn't necessarily create issues. Yeah, I think there was two things on the blog. Anyway, so that's sort of. But Matt, that's what you're thinking of working on next.
Yeah, I made a note that there's three tests marked pending.
Okay.
That I wanted to implement as part of this, and right now I'm trying to find those, because I think maybe those are the tests I can use to drive this. But
now, are they RSpec tests or are they Cucumber tests?
I think they're Cucumber. That's why I'm trying to.
Well, I think that they would correspond to the 3 Cucumber tests in this pull request. Yeah, like.
Wow.
These ones, I don't know if they're pending, but like these ones were certainly like I think these tests here, these were ones that were written out like after Sasha had completed his spike, and they weren't implemented. They were just like us trying to describe what the actual behavior was and what we wanted. Like we had a sort of a session where we were trying to get clear on that.
Yeah, but I actually found ones with the word pending in them. That's why. Okay, but
well, maybe so. I mean, there's no pending tests in that pull request.
Yeah, give me just 1 second. See if
Sure.
I should, as usual, I should have put the file name, line numbers in there, and let me look for the word pending. Okay, I can't find them. Wait, one more file.
Well, I mean, the thing is, what we've got is when we run the complete set of Cucumber tests for the entire existing system, there are no pending Cucumber tests. When we run, when we look at this pull request, we see that it does not introduce any pending things. So
maybe they were pending, and now they've
right.
Yeah.
But I think so. Independently from that, like what is very clear is that like these two scenarios here, which I mean, this was the work that Sasha and I did in identifying how the current system works and how we would like it to work. So now, and you guys worked on this, and these two elements became the single. Can I now find it again? Twitter feature became this single one here. Yeah. So the question would be, I mean, the way to drive it would be to, open a branch. I mean, like a new one. I would leave Sasha's pull request there and insert the new scenario. Right. That would be the sort of proactive way to say, right, we're going to try and get this new feature in there. The more subtle approach would be to start by saying, do we need to, adjust the way this existing scenario works? We've got this particular, rather long thing here that perhaps ideally would be broken into multiple lines, but perhaps it's too difficult to break it into multiple lines.
It seems like we should extend one of those two scenarios to say, and then the video is, only if the video is valid or something.
Right. Well, and that's exactly what this scenario is.
Well,
yeah, it's given that the Hangout has pinged here and the YouTube stream has gone live, and the recording is. I mean, I guess this one here.
The recording is finished.
Yeah. So there's another thing is that there's actually kind of different types of tweets. Like if you look at the words in the tweets, they kind of like the tweet that's being sent out is kind of like to say that the thing is finished. Like if we look at the Agile Ventures Twitter feed,
it says something such as they did finish this or whatever.
Yeah, it says like just finished, when actually that goes out immediately.
Started, right?
Yeah, at the start, and with a link that's not, and sort of later on, once they have finished, it becomes relevant, but it sort of goes out at the wrong time.
Oh, well, that's another.
Yeah, but that's what we've got here with this, these three things. An appropriate tweet has been sent. See, we've got like here. That's what these notes are from what we worked through before. Well, these ones this one should say see the live stream, and this one should say see recording. I mean, assuming that we even want that number of tweets in all of those three things, but this was, the results of the detective work that Sasha and I were doing about how the system currently behaves and, what's going on there. I think I'm recalling that one of the reasons why we've got this, rather long conjoined thing is in order to have this expectation come first. I mean, there's a question about whether we could use a spy instead, and whether that would go through and call original and so on and so forth. But
you've mentioned like three things, so I'm not sure which to do. Is it Is it adding that new scenario, or is it refactoring, or is it, you know?
Well, that's the thing. And then there are options, and
so I'm not sure.
Right. So one option would be, like, we can say that. I mean, this is why maybe we should pull it into the. Let me just. Did I not actually create? It looks like I haven't got the thing. So I think that the issue would be, can we refactor the Twitter feature steps? So we've got the issues. Issues are. We've got what is this? Currently, we have one long step because we are using expectations. Ideally, this would be broken up into multiple steps. So, and its options include using spies, getting VCR to do some more aggressive reporting, switching to WebMock. So, yeah.
Okay, so this is just one. That's good.
So this would be one. I mean, and would start with an investigation of the different approaches here. I mean,
I think like the least important to me, but maybe that's.
Well, this is the thing: is that we've got. It's sort of a bit like clearing your desk before you start on a big project.
Yeah. Okay.
But at the same time, you could say
it's going to be refactored.
Well, it's sort of about like
redo it and then redo it again.
It's sort of like the maintainability of this approach to testing. So it's like, you can insert the additional scenarios and then sort of create large event step sort of things for that. It's up to you either way. I'm just sort of I'm creating this as a placeholder. You can try driving from the feature, or you could try driving from the refactoring. I mean, probably whichever one starts on, one's going to learn things that inform the other. I think that the danger is if one is doing, if you do like 10 or 15 refactor things in a row without having like you have to separate 15 refactor tickets and never touching tickets related to the end result, that would be problematic. Similarly, if you were always only ever driving from like add feature and never kind of doing the refactoring, then both of them will get us into trouble. But so I think whichever one makes sense to get into first, for you, be my guest, I would say.
Then what's the other ticket look like? Just to remind
me. So the other ticket, then, if we now
continuing.
Your work. I mean, but basically that's the. The other thing here, that so the feature itself is this one that basically, here, this is the original user request.
Right.
And that's trying to get it working. And you can sort of see, actually, Thomas has written out this. It says, I would like the tweet service to only tweet YouTube links if the event has been recorded. And so that actually then corresponds to what we've got in here. That okay. I mean, we've sort of, the language is different here. That we've got the one, we're checking that the YouTube stream has gone live, and then there's this other one here that the recording is finished. I mean, I think in the short term, the simplest thing is just to, add this, addendum to say, all right, the tweet's not going out until the YouTube stream has gone live, and so we should that would if we implemented that properly, it would fail at the moment, right? Because it doesn't wait for the thing to go live.
Okay. Right. I think I'm going to start with that.
Sure.
But
yeah. Well, go for it.
But I'm just wait a second. I'm still a little confused about. You mentioned not creating a new branch and not modifying his, but I think I would want to might want to do a tiny bit of cleanup at least. So I hesitate. I was planning on just using his branch.
Yeah, I would say that would be an extraordinarily bad idea.
Why is that?
Because he's kind of made a sort of a complex mess. I don't think that anything is in there that there's nothing in there that you couldn't recreate from scratch very easily yourself. And I think you'll probably make it cleaner and better based upon you going into it. Like,
so then my starting point wouldn't be his branch. It would be
just you develop. I mean, what I would do if I were about to embark on this task, and independently of whether I might spend some time trying to do like refactor the existing system first, what I would do is, if we go back to this, is I would check out a new branch based on called 1094, new attempt to fix YT link. And, in that branch, because I'm branching off develop, I would already have this Twitter feature. And I would start by putting in my second scenario.
Okay.
And what that means is that I'm really doing BDD driving from my acceptance test, right? If I take his existing branch, then I kind of have his spike there.
Yeah, that was just a spike then. Okay.
Right, exactly. I mean, yeah, it may seem like it's not a spike because it happens to have this Twitter feature in it, but this was like after he'd written the spike.
It happens to work, but
well, the features don't work because they're not hooked up properly.
Yeah, the tests don't. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so he's got something that's works, but it's a little bit convoluted. So if we want to kind of, I mean, of course, there's always two options. You could say like, let's take the convolute. Whenever you do a spike, you can then wrap it in tests and then sort of change it a bit, and that's that's a possible thing. I mean, sometimes it's more work to refactor an existing sort of messy solution to something that's clean. But I think particularly for getting cleanliness and also for learning, it's fantastic to start off with a new branch and drive specifically from the test, and that way you kind of can ensure that you're only adding things as required by the test.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, I'll do that.
Cool.
That's
all right.
Direction now. I didn't know how to go at it before, but now.
No problem. I mean, I think this is all. I mean, I think the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write a book on all this and get all these things written down.
This is a good example of whether or not to, if something's not works, but it's not quite right, treat it as a spike and re-implement the.
Indeed, and I think the nice thing is that you can have the spike there for reference. That's why by keeping the existing branch, we also have a very, very clear setup of, like, I mean, I find the oh gosh, what's it called? Like, actually moving around, like, Git has a history of everything. But if I'm in the middle of working on something, the last thing I want to do is jump to, like, change the code base that I'm looking at in my RubyMine, say, to be something else. By having this spike here on, publicly available in GitHub and there, and I do this a lot, as I'm working through whatever thing I'm currently working on, I can then go back and say, oh, what did he do? Oh, he did that, and I've got that very easy reference. Sorry, Michael.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the key thing I think with what they had investigated is that gem actually works.
Yeah. Right. Which is very useful. Very useful to discover. Yeah. So okay. So that's all under
the rest. The rest of it is a matter of putting the tests in place and then implementing it in a way that does the least damage to our system.
Indeed. And goes with the grain of our system. So I've got in 15 minutes. I've got I'm going to be pairing with Corey, who has been working on this thing about registered live events. So I'll open a channel, hangout for that, and do on that. I think the stuff that I was working on, is apart from.
So you're doing that? Is that just a public session?
That's a public session. So to try and help him get unstuck. But so that branch of that other thing, Michael, I think it's green, but it's going to need some review. So I mean, Michael, feel free to work with Matt or work independently on looking at what I did there, or maybe see you in the session with Corey.
All right, sounds good.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna make some tea. I'll see you all soon.
Michael, or are you gonna be busy?
I really don't. Well,
I mean, if you want to do it, that's fine. I just didn't know if I should create one in case.
I mean, you can create one on your own and do it and see if anyone comes. But
yeah,
I'm not sure I'll join it. I don't feel.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, well, yeah, Matt, do create one, and maybe after I finish with Corey, I can jump in there. And I mean, I think the great thing about having those hangouts is people jump in, and you get a recording of what you did, and it helps.
Isn't Corey the one that I was gonna hook up with a few weeks ago? And
yes,
yeah, that would be good to meet him at some point.
Yeah, so feel free to jump into there and say hi. And
okay,
all right, see you guys a bit. Bye for now.